Okay, just let me also open an annotation bar because some of the people wants to show my see my mouse, I think. Um, Let me find it. Hmm, I couldn't, sorry. Um, so I couldn't find annotations, so let me start with the presentation first. So, hello everyone. My name is Bariscan Kurtkaya. I'm from Turkey, and I'm a student in Koc University and as a KUIS AI Fellow in KUIS AI Center. And thank you for Jimmy and Voxel 51 to give an opportunity to present uh, our work in this meetup. So I will try to explain our paper and basically leveraging pre-trained text-to-image diffusion models for zero-shot video editing. So let me start with presentation overview. So first one, I will try to explain main challenge and related works, our motivation and paper and qualitative and quantitative results, evaluation studies, and I will talk about some of possible future works. If you're interested in, you can also send me an email or ask on the QA section. So the main challenge is basically 2D image generation and editing problems have been examined for more than a decade. And we propose a lot of architectures like GAN architectures, variational autoencoders, normalizing flows, autoregressive models, and currently diffusion models. And the most of the state art is the diffusion models. And also, other than the architectures, image generation is relatively easier than video edit, like video generation because like we have vast image datasets for learning the image domain. As you can see, we have CIFAR, ImageNet, FFHQ, CelebA, and LSUN. And some of them is here for more than a decade. So it is relatively easier than video generation. However, at least at that time, there aren't many open source video datasets and pre-trained text-to-video models available. Nowadays, we know Sora, also Stability AI, published some image-to-video models, but still it is a problem to have an open source video datasets or open source text-to-video models. So being an open source is great. Thank you, Voxel 51, about it. So thus, it is hard to learn temporal consistency in consecutive frames while generating images of on-par quality. So let's start with related works. There is threefold. I will try to explain them briefly. So let's start with the first one. Basically, there are a lot of important papers, but I will try to explain them briefly. So let's start with DDPM. DDPM is basically the first paper that shows the capability of diffusion models. They basically show that diffusion model can generate better images, like great images than GAN architectures. So basically their objective is simple. They're adding a Gaussian noise through the T-time step and try to denoise it with, it can be UNet architecture or transformer architecture. But in that time, they use UNet architecture to do it. So basically they're adding a Gaussian noise and trying to find the noise at the T-time step to denoise it. But it is a little bit like long process. Therefore, DDIM also published after a couple of months, and they basically changed the Markovian chain to a non-Markovian chain to speed up the process. So the top left is shows the DDPM, and top right and the bottom shows the DDIM. So they basically change the process to, for example, if you're trying to predict the X3, you are basically like it's if you know the probabilities is Q, X3 given X2 and X0. So it's not just for the previous one, it's also chained to the first one. So in that case, you can basically speed up the process. And I think one of the most important works from LMU, which is latent diffusion model, because it both gave a scalability and conditioning. So in that case, they basically added an autoencoder part, and they basically did the whole of the generation process in latent. So it gives us a scalability. Also, they added cross-attention parts into the UNet architecture. So in that case, we can generate images with our text prompts or our images or representations or semantic maps. So it is one of the keystones in the diffusion models. Also, ControlNet is important because like you can generate images with different conditions, different type of conditioning. So in that case, for example, if you have a sketch conditioning, depth conditioning, or canny edge conditioning, or human pose conditioning, they can generate several different images while preserving the architecture or structure of the image. So as you can see, if you give a conditioning as human pose, you can generate different type of images, but you can also try to preserve the whole pose of the humans in here, as you can see. So it's also important. Dreamboot is, I think, one of the most popular works too in image editing. So they basically propose a fine-tune based method. So with fine-tuning, they are trying to find a token, and then this token will correspond to this object in the left, in the dog. So after learning this token, you can basically use this token into your prompt to generate different type of images. As you can see, the dog in the Acropolis or dog in a house and more. So plug and play is also another paper that utilize the DDM inversion, and they propose feature and self-attention injection technique to editing while preserving the structure. So as you can see on the bottom left, we have an input prompt, which say a photo of a statue in the snow. And there's a Spider-Man image on the top left, which is our input image. So we want to edit it correspond to our prompt. So they basically do a DDM inversion and then using feature and self-attention injections to edit the whole architecture while preserving the structure. So let's continue with the classifier free guidance. I think it's one of the basics, so it's also important. Basically, they just try to find the direction to edit or generate the image correspond to our prompt. Basically, we have a null text token, and also we have a condition token. So let's say the condition is orange. So it enables us to find the direction from null token to say to UNet to okay, do orange more than like X weights or something. So you can basically know how much you want to push your UNet or diffusion architecture to generate orange or prompt, whatever you want. Also, prompt is a Google paper. So Google present a cross-attention injection, swapping or accomplishing local editings. For example, you have a prompt that says a puppy is swimming and you want to change the puppy to a cat. So your source prompt is a puppy is swimming and your target prompt is a cat is swimming. And they're basically changing the cross-attention of puppy and cat. Then in that case, they can preserve other prompts and they can preserve the whole background in the image while changing the target object. So let's continue with the training part. So there are a lot of papers in here. DreamX, make a video from Facebook, Magic Edit, tune a video, TLV, edit a video. But our method is more of zero shot and training free method. So if you are having a question about it, I added some links in the below. So I will try to continue without training part because it's more related. And let's continue with the without training part. So the pioneer work is Pix2Video and then Fate 0, Text2Video 0, render, and token flow. Let's start with Pix2Video. The authors utilize the DDM inversion, as you can see on the left, and self-attention feature injection. And also they propose a latent update strategy for video editing. They basically updating the latence of the consecutive frames with selecting a keyframe and also a previous frame to create a more consistent editing. In Fate 0, they utilize a prompt-to-prompt, and they propose a spatiotemporal self-attention for video editing to basically change the local objects. For example, in here, they changed the silver Jeep to a Porsche car. But it is struggle with the general editing parts. And also it needs a source prompt, as you can see. For text-to-video 0, the authors is utilize the DDM inversion at the left, and then they propose a cross-frame attention for video editing to find a consistent editing after frames, consecutive frames. And also they did background smoothing with a masking strategy. They basically, for example, you are trying to change horse to another animal. So you're basically masking find the mask of the horse and say, okay, I want to change this object and not try to change the background. So in that case, you are basically doing a background smoothing to just change the object. Re-render video is a little complicated, so I will just try to read the important parts. So basically, they utilize cross-frame attention and ADA in here, and also they use flows for warping to the next frames, as you can see in warp in the middle. And they did shape-aware latent fusion, and then do a pixel-aware latent fusion, and then fidelity-oriented image encoding. So if you are wondering more about the re-render, I'm 100% sure that you should go and read it, because it's also important, one of the papers in video editing. So token flow was the most important, I guess, because it was the state of the art at that day. The authors basically utilized DDM inversion and plug and play methods. In the first, like in the top one, is basically the forward diffusion process. So they are doing a DDM inversion, and while doing a DDM inversion, they're extracting tokens and then computing a nearest neighbor to find the correspondence between the frames. And in the reverse process, in the bottom part, they are basically sampling keyframes and then doing extended attention. And after doing this extended attention and finding the noise, they are basically doing a token flow propagation which is actually find in the forward process before, to basically propagate the noise in the other frames to do a consistent editing. So there are a lot of papers, but the diffusion process itself is really slow, and all of the related works are computationally heavy and require a lot of time to accomplish video editing tasks. And also, training-free methods can't maintain the extreme shape editings, and therefore we try to find a way to do a video editing in zero shot, training-free, and also can handle extreme shape editings. So our motivation is start from utilizing control net with grid trick for consistent character generation is highly known in stable diffusion community. So for example, if you have a line art of grids, as you can see on the left, and also some of the pose, and if you have a detailed one of the prompt, as you can see in the bottom, a character sheet of Elsa from different angles with a gray background, etc., you can leverage text-to-image stable diffusion model to generate a consistent character, so with different pose. So we said that, okay, can we use this technique for consistent video editing? And the answer is basically yes. So, but there are a lot of issue about it, because like in a long video, even a 2 seconds video, if it's 30 FPS, you need to create a grid which has 60 frames, which is not a scalable solution. And we want to edit even longer videos. So how to like extend this trick for zero shot video editing? So basically in that part, we proposed a novel noise shuffling strategy. As you can see in the top one is input and grid plus sparse causal attention and rave. And as you can see, we are the consistent in the different grids too. How we do that? So let's try to explain there. So we have two-step methodology. First of all, let's start with keyframes. We have an input video and we are doing grids and we are doing editing. So let's start with step one. in this part, we extract the control net conditions first. It can be depth, line art, soft edge, but in our method, we use depth mostly because it enables us to edit more extreme shape editing, because line art or soft edge gives us a lot of structure information. So it's hard to change the information in editing phase, but depth is more softly, so you can also change the structure in a better way. So first of all, we are doing a DDM inversion to find deterministic find the t time step noise in a deterministic way. And also we are using a condition preprocessor to find a depth. It can be Midas, for example. So after that, we are basically creating a grids. So these grids can be 2x2, 3x3, or 4x4, or even more. It's up to you. It's like how much GPU you have. But I will show that 3x3 is great and efficient. So let's say we have L grids, which is basically in image we have 2x2 grid. Then L times 2x2 equals to K frames in here. And then we do a shuffling that we propose. For example, you have two grids, like with 8 frames. We are basically shuffling the frames for another diffusion time step. For example, the first one is coming from the first grid randomly in the top right, and the fifth one coming from the top left, the 8 coming from bottom left to come to the second grid. So we are randomly shuffling the order of the frames in the shuffling part. Basically, we also did the same shuffling to the condition grids too, because we want to preserve their structures. So after that, after this shuffling process, we are using doing a diffusion step to do one step of the diffusion, and then we are again shuffling it to attend all of the frames from the another ones, because let's say we have a first frame and we are shuffling it, and the first frame attend to for example, in the second one, attend to the 5, 8, 4, but it's not enough. So for this another step, we are shuffling it again. So first one will attend to another ones too. So since we will have 50 time steps, all frames will attend to each other for all the diffusion process. So in that case, we will have a consistent zero shot and training free video editing. So general structure is basically like this. As I mentioned, we have a pre-processing part, and we are constructing grids, and then we are doing shuffling through whole time steps and get the solution. So our contribution is basically we are training free, zero shot, and it can be used in all of the pre-trained text-to-image diffusion models instead LoRa's, and also the control net will enable to do a video style attribute and shape editing. And also we are approximately 25% faster than other methods, which is important in diffusion process. And we also present a novel video evaluation dataset, which is open source. And also we publicly share our source code in a GitHub, and you can also find it on our website. So let's continue with dataset. We basically have 5 categories. First one is local editing. As you can see, we just tried to change the jacket's glitter inside of the image. And the second one is more of the structure base. So we just want to change the style while preserving the whole structure. So as you can see, we said anime style, and we just want to change the style of the image to the anime and try to preserve all of the structure. Also, we tried background editing. So the motorcycle should be the same while changing the whole background. For example, it can be snowy day. Shape and attribute editing is, I think, one of the most important ones, because we mostly try to change the attribute of the object or shape of the object. So for example, we have a wolf on the top, and we want to change to a lion or a dinosaur or another thing. So we also have a category of that. And also there's something different than a shape or attribute thing, because we also want to change all of the architecture. For example, in the D section, the shape attribute editing, the wolf and lion has a similar architecture, but Jeep and a tractor doesn't have that much. So we also call that extreme shape editing, and we try to change like extremely, we try to change the structure extremely to show if we can handle it or not, and we show that we can do it and other methods can't. So in the qualitative part, we like published a lot of videos on our website, but I tried to find the great ones inside of it. So for example, in the top left, we have a car who is going into the road. So we changed into the train, we changed into the fire truck, we changed the tank and more. And also in the bottom left, we have a person who is typing. We tried to change into like a local editing, a glitter jacket, and also an astronaut, or we change it to the skeleton. So the other ones is also from animals or objects. So we try to change the, for example, in here, we try to do a editing who has white cupcakes moving on the table instead of a train. So we also did a qualitative comparisons with other methods. As you can see, we have 3 different videos. The first one is 8 frames. The middle one is 36 frames, and the right one is 90 frames. So as you can see, the first prompt is a Jeep moving at night, and Fate Zero actually did a great job since they're using prompt to prompt, but there are some limitations because you also need a source prompt and target prompt. And it is quite like slower than us because they are both need to do the diffusion step for the target prompt and also source prompt. Also for text video 0, it is it has some issues, as you can see, for all videos, and re-render has some lightning issues. Token flow, since they're using like computing like nearest neighbor field, it is a little bit smooth. It's blurry in the left one and the middle one. The Pixie video has a lot of computation problem in their source code, so it was a little bit problematic. So in the last row, we have the rave, basically. So we try to change all of the like background to a night. And also we tried long sentences from GPT, says mysterious purple and blue hues dominate with twinkling stars and glowing moon in the backdrop. Also, we try to do a local editings. For example, a senior lady is running, and which are, I think, great competitive results. And also we did a quantitative results, but quantitative results is a little bit problematic in editing because we don't know how good it was with in a quantitative comparison. So therefore, we also did a user study and runtime comparison. So as you can see, we dominate all of them in clip frame, warp SSIM, clip text, QEdit, and all of the user studies. And also in the runtime, as you can see, without pre-processing, we are like up to down to 1 minute to the closer one from token flow. As you can see, we can generate an image in 3 minutes. Sorry, we can edit a video in 3 minutes. So also we did another qualitative comparison with Epson, because we can also merge the grid trick with Epson, but as you can see, there are a lot of issues on the right top or middle one. It is a bit squiggly, or you cannot see the in front of Jeep, but in our method, we can also do the editings more clearly. And also we did ablation studies about what if we're not using shuffling or DDM inversion, or what if we don't use depth and use another controls. So as you can see in the second row, in the second column, if you are not using a shuffling method, then all of the grids will independent to each other. So that's the main problem. In the third one is a like DDM inversion, what if we don't use the DDM inversion? Then, as you can see in the background, a tree disappears and comes back. So it is also important to preserve the structure, but not for editing, not for consistency. It's just for preserving the general architecture. For the other ones, the line art, soft edge, and depth, the only thing is changing is editing, not the consistency. So it is just an option that which one you want to use. So if you want a more, if you don't want to change any of the structure of the image, so you can use line art or soft edge. But if you want to change some of the shapes or attributes, so you can use depth in that part. So it's more optional. It's just preserving the structure. And also we conduct an ablation study on grid size. Basically, if you increase the size of grid, so you will get a better scores. But as you can see in 3x3, it is really competitive to 5x5 and more. So 3x3 is really efficient, and you can basically edit consistently. And also the chart is the difference between on the chart is small. So the less one is 0.97 and the most one is 1. So you don't need, like, it is not a much difference between the grid size. And possible future works, I think it's the most important part, because there are still problems. We are not superior in the field. So the first of all, like our method can handle extreme shape edits successfully, but it encounters limitations when performing extreme shape edits as the video length increases, because like grids will shuffle, for example, 50 times, and if you increase the like video length, then you will have a lot of frames. For example, we also did a 300 frames examinations too, but what if you have 10,000 of frames? So then it will have a problems on that part. So it's important. So in the second one, in certain extreme shape editings has flickering, and our model doesn't have explicit pixel level the flickering method. So it is also important. So for example, if you try to change a wolf to a unicorn with long hairs, then there will be some flickering issues. It will probably because of the decoder part and also from the diffusion process, but it is still an issue. I think it is great to solve it. For the third one is basically our method is light on the self-attention and cross-attention parts, because if you did a great trick, then the cross-attention and self-attention parts will attend to each other like a temporal attention. So if you use a LoRa doesn't work that way. So that's why it will not work in the LoRa models. So it is a great way to actually conduct research. And the fourth one is developing new metrics is important, because it is not a great way to say, okay, that edit is great or that edit is not. So the new metrics always helpful for assessments between prior methods. And also our method handles occlusions pretty well, but there are some failure cases. So it also needs to be improved. So it is also great future work. So thank you for listening, and thank you for Voxel 51 and all of my collaborators through this process. And also there a QR code on the right bottom that you can go into the link.
So there are a couple of questions. I think some are in the chat and some are in the QA. I'll grab the ones in the chat first. The first question is, what is condition preprocessor? Is it depth map?
It can be, for example, MIDAS to basically extracting a depth, or you can use Kenny edge algorithm to extract a Kenny edge. So like in the first part, in the related works part, I showed you control net, as you can see here. So the conditioning preprocess is basically you just try to extract one of the conditions in here. It can be depth map, Kenny edge, or another one. So it is just a method. So it's optional for you.
And then another question that was, I think, midway through the presentation was the question, Is the Van Gogh drawing a text prompt?
Sorry, I
Is
couldn't.
the Van Gogh drawing, so it was one of your flow diagrams.
Okay, let me. I think that one.
Yes.
So the Van Gogh drawing is basically your prompt. For example, we want to do editing to change the whole frames to a Van Gogh drawing. So this is basically a condition prompt, and the left one is a condition like depth conditions, for example.
And then the final follow-up question here is after the mixing grid, how do you restore a number of frame in the sequence, or how do you restore the number of frames in the sequence after the mixing grid?
So basically, for example, we have K frames, and we are randomly shuffled it, just randomly to construct algorithms. And every time step, we are constructing random grids to basically do a diffusion step. So it's just so we are not like implicitly saving some orders in the different place. We are just doing it randomly, and it is quite work. So we also tried to shuffle them in an order, but the best work was on the random side.
And then two final questions, and then we'll let you take the rest of the questions offline, is what is line art? And line art and soft edge, are those edge filters?
They're basically like one of the like methods to extract at the edge from the image. So yeah, it is a type of edge filter, we can say. But for more information, it is a great way to just go into the control net, because they also explain line art, what is line art and what is the soft edge. But basically, line art is like a canny edge, which extract an edge information of the image, and the soft edge is a smoother version of that. So basically just this.